Welcome back. Now then, our next guest has been a trusted voice in our living rooms for more than 2 decades, reporting on some of the biggest stories during the most turbulent of times.
And tonight, Mary Nightingale is introducing us to the brand new ITV Evening News, and she joins us now to tell us more. Thank you for being here. It's lovely to see you today.
You
and
too.
there's big changes ahead, isn't there? So just explain.
Yes, there are, but I get a bit nervous when we talk about big changes because actually the Evening News is pretty popular the way it is, and so I don't want people to think, oh, it's all going to be different, it's all going to have...
Yeah, the reassurance is that the core of the show is exactly the same. It's longer, and so it has more ability to expand.
Exactly, and sadly there is no shortage of news at the moment, so it's great that we're going to have longer to tell those stories that I think our reporters out there in Kiev and beyond, you know, they tell those stories so well, and we can have more time, and that's brilliant.
To do that. It's funny, isn't it? Because you think the way the way the world changes and people have their phones and they have access to rolling news, scrolling news all the time. However, news, sort of the evening news and those pinpointed news bulletins are so important. People really turn to those.
They really do. And actually, you know, 10 years ago or so, we were being told people aren't going to watch television news anymore, it's all over, everyone's going to get it online through Vice and all of those sites. Do you remember? Yeah. But actually, I think with the whole idea of fake news, and we know where that came from, I think people are more and more turning to trusted news sources. And we've seen that over the last 6 years. Our viewers have increased. You know, you've got 3.5, 4 million every evening now.
Especially now when we are desperate for people who are there, people who are eyewitnesses. They're not sort of making it up.
No, people who are unbiased.
And so, with the change this evening, then it's taking your reporters also out of London.
Yes, yes. Well, we all know that ITV's heartland is not London, and it's really important that we reflect that, and we do already. But I think we're going to have the luxury of the time to do that even more. So our nations and regions bureaus have been bolstered. We've got new reporters that we've got up in North and Midlands and so on, and in Wales we've bolstered that, in Scotland, and it's going to enable us to tell those stories via the people that know those stories of their own communities best. So it's going to be a real showcase for the best talents we've got nationwide.
And everything has to evolve and change, and as it should do. And over the years, you've seen many changes, actually, and you sort of look at different decades. The 90s seemed a much more innocent time, didn't it?
Looking back now, the 90s were wonderful, weren't they? The Berlin Wall had come down, communism had gone. We thought, you know, everything was about movement and democracy, and we were perhaps very naive then, you know. I think we didn't... Maybe we took that for granted, and we didn't look as closely as we should at some of the downsides and what was just coming around the corner. And 9/11 changed all that, of course.
You, as you say, I mean, news has to be unbiased, and reporting on that certainly can't be easy. I mean, we'd be useless because, you know, sort of it is such... This is so horrific, so unimaginable. For you guys in the newsroom, what's your newsroom like at the moment? Well,
a positive is we're all back, because during the pandemic, everybody pretty much was working from home, except for a core team. I came in every day during the pandemic, and actually I was really grateful to have that structure in my life from a personal point of view. But, yes, we're all back, which is great. I wish that we didn't have such a desperate story to be reporting on, because it's... You know, it's not about us, is it? It's about those poor people in Kiev. But we've got our reporters out there, and we're doing our very, very best to bring unbiased, factual, immediate news.
Can I ask you, because, I mean, you saw what just happened, we just all fell to pieces there, and obviously you're really there at the forefront of all of this. How do you separate yourself from it, or do you not?
I think the stories that get to you most are the ones that maybe chime with you the most. And I remember when Madeleine McCann was snatched all those years ago, my daughter's the same age as her. And so I found that story very difficult. Once you have children, anything involving children, I think, is particularly difficult, isn't it? So you really... It's almost like you have a layer of skin removed when you become a parent.
Well, we've all got videos or CDs or whatever of our kids doing precisely that.
Exactly.
But just not in a bomb shelter.
Exactly, and it's heartbreaking. And I think what we try and do in the ITV News is we are empathetic, but we try just to stick to the facts. We tell stories about people and about humanity, because that's what this story in particular is about. You know, the bombs and the politics of it, yes, that's all clearly a key part of it, but it's about people, isn't it? News stories at their heart are always about people. And yes, it's very difficult, and sometimes I struggle not to cry, I'll be quite honest.
You mentioned it a moment ago about your job being important for you, the consistency of a job during a pandemic and things going on in your life. We all found that we were lucky in here to continue to come into this place and have this as a foundation. And you found that as well, you said.
Very much so. And also, I think, you know, during the pandemic, when people were at home and feeling isolated and feeling perhaps, you know, they didn't know what was happening, they didn't know what direction things were going in. I think from our point of view, and certainly all of my colleagues at work, I think we felt very grateful that we were doing something that could be helpful. We weren't working on the front line like NHS workers were, but we were providing some continuity for people. I was providing information, as you were, and I think it felt good. It felt important in a way, you know?
Absolutely. Well, it's important to have you there, giving us honest, accurate, non-biased news, and we really appreciate it. And ITV Evening News tonight at 6:30 for the hour. So, thank you.
Do you find it easy to escape it when you go home?
I go at my garden with
you?
my secateurs, and I like going for long walks. And I have a lovely family, and I'm very lucky. You know, look at what's happening in Kiev. None of this matters, does it?
No, not anymore.
We're all safe, we're all secure, our children aren't being bombed. You know, how lucky are we?
We'll see you on the telly tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, still to come, from the health benefits of a busy social life to the power of herbal tea.